Lions and Steelers coming up on Sunday. Let's talk to Charlie Batch on today's show, the former Lion and Steeler quarterback. We'll do that coming up.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Matt Dery with you. What's happening, everybody? It is a Thursday, August 25th and a Friday, August 26th. It's Locked On Lions on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team indeed every single day. And today, we'll talk some Steeler football with Charlie Batch, our old buddy from the Lions and the Steelers, of course, Super Bowl winning quarterback in Pittsburgh, doing Steelers pre- and post-game radio and TV. We'll get to see Batch's comments on the Steelers, preview Sunday's preseason game with Charlie, and do more here on the program. Also, we got to get into the backup quarterback situation for the Lions. Levi Onwuzurike didn't exactly get a great bill of health or a great bill of confidence from Dan Campbell today. We'll explain that coming up as well. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at BriteCo Jewelry and Watch Insurance. BriteCo brings you comprehensive, fast, and affordable jewelry insurance for as low as $5 per month. They're unreal. Check out your special offer for Locked On listeners and get covered in under 2 minutes at brite.co/lockdown. That's brite.co/lockdown. You can find me on Twitter at Dery Speaks, Dery Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, the Matt Dery Facebook fan page, and of course, you can find us on YouTube, the Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Please subscribe and check it out. All right, two quick notes before we get to Charlie on today, before the Lions practiced and got ready, kind of a walkthrough for Sunday against the Steelers. No more padded practices. Camp's kind of ending here, and the team's going to try to take it easy before they play Sunday's game. First and foremost, the backup quarterback situation. It was addressed today by Dan Campbell. He basically said, look, I'm going to start Tim Boyle most likely. David Blau is going to play, and I need to see somebody this Sunday against the Steelers take the reins. That's the terminology he used. Take the reins of this football team so that they can make a decision on who the backup quarterback is going to be. I have very low expectations that either guy is going to take the reins, and it'll be interesting to see if they make any kind of move after this game if Boyle and Blau struggle. I thought last week against the Colts, both those guys were pretty decent, but I think it was because the run game was so good. How can you not have some time to throw and make some good decisions? What will be interesting this week against a pretty bad Steelers run defense is how the Lions do running the football again and what kind of offense Ben Johnson's going to have to showcase Boyle and Blau a little bit and find out who the backup quarterback is going to be. That's number one. Number two, Dan Campbell was giving some injury updates today, and somebody was asking about the back injury of second-round pick from last year, Levi Onwuzurike. And Campbell really couldn't answer the question today when asked about it. Quote, it's hard to say when he'll be back right now. I would say there's been no setbacks. He's trending the right way, but it's at a snail's pace is the best way to say it. He's doing everything we're asking him to do. It's getting better, but if you're asking me right now and twisting my arm, I'm saying he's not available for Philly. That, of course, is week 1. But we will see. What is going on with Levi Onwuzurike? He's not going to get cut. Excuse me. He's a second-round pick from last year. They're not giving up on him yet. But, man, snail's pace? That's not real confident in the player, is it? Yeah, he doesn't have any setbacks. He's probably not going to play in week 1. We think he'll be back soon, but it's at a snail's pace. Jeez. Levi Onwuzurike last year was a disappointment. The Lions said after the season that he was banged up all last year and played through injury. And now here in the preseason, we've barely seen him at camp. He got hurt during training camp, so there's certain injury designation rules, that do not apply as I drop my phone on the ground. And, it's just, wow. The second round jinx is alive and well. Other than Darius Slay and DeAndre Swift, go back the last handful of years. Second round draft pick jinx is alive and well. Josh Paschal is hurt. Onwuzurike is hurt, and Campbell's basically saying it's a snail's pace with his back. Wow. So I'm not expecting to see Levi Onwuzurike to start the season, and that's a huge disappointment. It really is. And I hope he gets back. I hope he proves us all wrong. But that is not a good sign, to say the least, on Levi. And it's going to mean other guys like Isaiah Buggs and Taylor, Demetrius Taylor, and others who just have to step up. Charlie Batch is going to be our guest coming up next. I got to tell you about our friends at BriteCo Jewelry Insurance. You got to check out these videos that they put on at brite.co/lockdown. These folks at BriteCo Jewelry Insurance are nuts. They are so much fun. And if you don't sign up with them, you have to, because you can lose your wedding ring. You can lose the engagement ring. Stuff could go down the toilet or the sink, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have jewelry insurance. The guys at BriteCo Jewelry Insurance will make sure you get a replacement for the full value of that ring if you lose it, no matter if it's lost, stolen, or you just can't figure out what happened to it. Go to brite.co, brite.co/lockdown. It's the fastest, easiest, and cheapest way to cover your butt with the best jewelry insurance in the business. These guys are geniuses at BriteCo. They made buying insurance for your engagement ring, your watch, or whatever so freaking easy. You can get covered in 2 minutes on your cell phone. You won't find a better deal on great coverage that's super affordable. Brite.co, BRIT.co/lockdown. We all hate insurance, right? They've made it fun. They've made it understandable. Check it out. Brite.co/lockdown. You got to check them out. Wouldn't be a Lions-Steelers week if we don't talk to our buddy Charlie Batch, former Lions and Steelers quarterback, now part of Steelers TV and radio, former Pittsburgh great and Super Bowl champ, and our buddy joins me now. What's up, Charlie?
Not much. How you doing, sir?
What's up, man? Great to see you, man. You look good. You got the jerseys behind you for the YouTube crowd. You're revving up and ready to go here.
I am, and this is obviously a divided household as we are in Pittsburgh at this point. Typically, I'm only used to it every 4 years. But of course, last season they played, and then you're playing in a preseason game this year. So this is something that I'm typically not accustomed to.
When was the last time you were back? I know you're doing so much with that Eastern collective and the NIL thing, but when was the last time you were back home here?
Yeah, I was up there into July, and now that the season is upon us, I'll probably be up there at least every other week. So I look forward to everything that's going on at Eastern Michigan and everything that we're doing with Game Above and our alumni group there. And really good things are happening in the Eastern Michigan space.
I love it. And, of course, Best of the Batch Foundation, Charlie, is one of the most giving people that I know for sure, and what they do for kids and everything else. Tell me about the Steelers. Here come the Lions for the third preseason game. It's kind of funny. I was talking to Tim Benz, who I know you know in Pittsburgh, and Tim says, wait, Dan Campbell tells us more than Mike Tomlin does about Game 3, because Campbell says, I talked to Coach Tomlin, and the starters are going to play, and I'm glad Coach Tomlin is still staying as close to the vest as possible, even in the preseason, huh?
He definitely is. He's treating it like regular season. And, of course, this week here, he actually treats as game week. So, one thing to see how he was going to operate. He got somewhat of a test last week against Jacksonville, but here he is now with your understanding of Detroit is going to play their starter. So what better way to measure yourself against someone who's going to play their starters? And that's essentially how this game is going to ultimately turn into. So I'm looking forward to it.
How sick are you already? I know it's only August 25th, but the quarterback question, oh my goodness. I mean, is it exciting and fun to talk to that you talk about this every day? Or is it like, let's just pick somebody and roll with it?
Well, I'm used to it at this point now, only because this is something that really over the last 18 years has been a question that really they didn't have to answer around here in Pittsburgh. And I always equivalent that to my nephew. I'm like, he's 16 years old, and Ben Roethlisberger is the only quarterback that he's known as a starter, right. Throughout his life. So as Steelers Nation is looking at this, they're like, wow, how are we going to react? Of course, that's going to be the opening question. And when you draft a first rounder in the manner that Kenny Pickett was and how great he's played in the preseason thus far, of course, these questions are ultimately going to continue to be asked.
Charlie Batch with me. All right, from what you've seen, you're at practices, you're at the games. Who has the upper hand? What would you do if you were Mike Tomlin?
Yeah, well, right now, all indications, at least from a rep perspective, is going to be Mr. Trubisky. He's been a starter since the offseason has started. That continued on through training camp, and really it has not blended into Kenny Pickett taking first team reps. So right now, based off of what I've seen, I truly expect Mr. Trubisky to be the week 1 starter against the Bengals. Now, if the Lions, for whatever reason, really get after him and cause havoc and make him look bad in this game on Sunday, then obviously that question could obviously be brought back to the equation, especially if Kenny Pickett continues to do what he's doing in the preseason.
Were you a Pickett fan? Because, like, I know that there's the local angle, but, man, a lot of teams passed on him. A lot of teams passed on all these quarterbacks. Where do you kind of stand on him?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched him over the years. I mean, I like what he brings to the table. And of course, anytime you're going through that evaluation process, we had one of the best, and that was Kevin Colbert for so many years, who actually was in Detroit at my time there as he worked underneath Chuck Smith and Ron Hughes. Now he was the general manager and done so over the last 20 years in Pittsburgh, Hall of Famer, quite frankly. And it'd be interesting. Can't wait for him to go into Canton, Ohio. But you really, fall and then you lean on him as it relates to, how he's evaluating talent. Everybody thought it was going to be Malik coming out of Liberty, and that did not happen. And really, it just, quite frankly, surprised a lot of people because of the attention that was given to Malik versus Kenny heading into the draft. But I like where Kenny's at and ultimately, what he's doing. And I just really feel like the stage is not too big for him, and he's producing in big ways.
You didn't mention Mason Rudolph. There were some reports, Andrew Filipponi and some others in Pittsburgh were saying, the Lions were interested in Mason Rudolph. You buy any of that, and where does he stand in this whole pecking order right now?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes both ways. From an organization standpoint, from the Steelers, you have 3 solid quarterbacks that can get it done. So, you would love that blanket security that you have if something was to happen, with between your first and second guys, if Mason is the third heading into camp. But when you talk about a trade, I can see that possibly happen only because if I'm Mason Rudolph, you're at a point of your career that you want to start, you want to play, and you want to prove to everybody around the league that you can get it done. Quite frankly, it's not going to happen here in Pittsburgh only because who the pair of starter is going to be in Kenny Pickett. So if I'm Mason, I'm trying to possibly force my way out only because I want to start. I want to kickstart my career, and right now it's just not going to happen here.
Former Lions quarterback and Steelers Super Bowl champion Charlie Batch with us here on Locked On Lions. Lions and Steelers Sunday at 4:30. That's going to throw a wrench into your weekend, isn't it, Charlie? A late afternoon Sunday game. This is a new one, but hey, national TV calls, and that's how it's done, right?
Especially in August. These are games you just, okay, give me a Thursday or a Friday, get it out the way at 7 o'clock. But here you are in prime time at 4:30. It's going to be exciting. And you have a national audience. And, of course, right now, with both teams playing their starters, we're hopefully expect a really good first half.
What else are you looking for? I know the quarterback talk is just a buzz in Pittsburgh, but what else about the offense are you intrigued by when it comes to the Steelers, and how have they done first 2 weeks in your mind?
Well, I think, they started out really good in week 1. I thought all quarterbacks played fairly well over the course of the last 2 preseason games. But the biggest question mark on the Steelers team is the offensive line. Jacksonville really got after them. There were some changes that were happening throughout the course of this week as it relates to how things are going to go with that offensive line. And, of course, when you look and see what Detroit is capable of bringing to the table, they have a really good defensive front. So if they saw with them looking and reviewing film from last week, you better believe they're licking the chops because they're saying we want to get after him, and of course making a good impact for head coach Dan Campbell there. So there's definitely something for them to play for in this manner, and there's questions that the Steelers have to answer, and that starts with the offensive line.
Are they going to play? Campbell said no Jared Goff, but like you said, the starters would be out there. How much does Tomlin have to look and see at that starting 11 on offense? Let's say they do well. Will he pull them quickly, or is this really more of a work in progress? It's not a lot of names that I think everybody recognizes from the past few years, that's for sure.
Yeah, I could see maybe if Mitch goes down, has a good series or two, he could probably be removed from the game and see what Kenny can do. And then ultimately we'll see how the pecking order goes. But even though the changes that will eventually go from the quarterback position, maybe the wide receivers, I truly feel like that offensive line is probably going to play the first half. And Mike Tomlin did that, and he kept a couple of those guys into the third quarter. So right now he's not happy. He's not pleased at all as it relates to what he saw from this for the group up front. And those 5 guys really have to solidify and prove that they're capable of being a week 1 starter. And if not, it wouldn't surprise me if Mike Tomlin is looking at the waiver wire as we get to these final cuts, or maybe veteran guys who are out there that he could possibly bring in here to get them ready to play in week 1.
That is so unlike the Steelers. They've always been, dating back when you played, you always knew they were solid up front. I mean, that was just part of their kind of DNA, right? So that's got to be concerning, especially in this division too. With some of the teams they got to face Myles Garrett twice a year. They got to fix that quick, don't they?
They do, and this is something that really caught a lot of people off guard because you knew you had the challenges last year coming into free agency. You're like, okay, we got to get better in the running game. They drafted Najee Harris in the first round, but yet offensively they struggled and wasn't able to get that running game going. So then you have the same question mark heading into this offseason. You really didn't do much about it because you really only picked up James Daniels, the right guard. And then from there, you're like, oh, well, let's figure everything else out. And right now, things just aren't materializing. But the closer you get to week one, now it raises that question for everyone around who follows the Steelers to say, how come you didn't address as much or invest in the offensive line as much as you did in other places? And right now, hopefully it's not going to come back and bite them. But right now, that's a lingering question that obviously everybody nationally is going to be paying attention to.
Lions last week, even their second stringers against the Colts second team just ran the football down their throats. How's Pittsburgh's? Obviously, Cam Hayward and others are great, but what are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are we going to see from the Steelers' defense this week, you think?
Yeah, they have to get better in the defensive run game. I mean, last year they were 32nd in the league. That was something unprecedented around Pittsburgh. So everybody was scratching their heads and saying, what the heck is going on with this defense? So now here you are. You have Tyson Alualu, who I thought was really the key of why that run game, went as bad as it did so fast. But he's a veteran guy, former number one pick out of Jacksonville, who's been with the Steelers for a number of seasons. He is the bread and butter of that decent defensive line. So if you bring him back now, and now what did the depth look like? That's something that's going to materialize at this point. So they want to get better at that. And of course, now they have a new defensive coordinator in Terrell Austin, who's now looking to bring more exotic coverages in the back. So they can do that there. But the caveat and the weakness of this defense right now is the inside linebacker position. Devin Bush, former number one pick, University of Michigan. He was a guy that really had a high ceiling, ended up tearing his ACL 2 years ago, just did not look the same last year. And right now there is a lot of pressure on him because they want to see him take that next step confidently. From a confidence perspective, does he have it? That remains to be seen. And I think that would be something that will answer the questions really this week, because if it doesn't happen this week and they don't feel comfortable with him, you have a new set of eyes with Brian Flores. He came on this coaching staff. So now there is no alliance as it relates to what that linebacker core looks like. They added Miles Jacks to the equation from Jacksonville. What is this group going to look like right now? I think everybody is paying attention to that. And it wouldn't surprise me if Robert Spillane ultimately from the backup position propels and be maybe the week one starter against the Bengals.
One more quick thing on Devin Bush. I was watching some video of him, and gosh, I loved him out of Michigan. Flew around the field. Now he doesn't know where to go. It almost looks like he's, an inside zone run, and he's in the wrong place. He's in the wrong gap. I mean, did he forget how to play football, Charlie? What happened?
That's the part where everybody's trying to figure out. And of course, coming out of Michigan, he used his speed to his advantage. And right now, that advantage is not there because he's not confident in the knee. So when you look and go from a Ryan Shazier who had speed at the linebacker position, everybody had high expectation for Devin Bush, especially what he did in year number one. Now it's like, okay, where are you at? Why did the Steelers take you as high as they did in the first round? And then, of course, the Steelers declined his fifth-year option. So you hope that fuels his fire to say, okay, I'm looking to prove everyone wrong. And if you just watch his comments that he had a couple of weeks ago out of training camp, the question was posed to him, do you think this is your last chance? And he immediately responded like, last chance for what? If I'm not with the Steelers, yes, I understand the business side of it. I will be playing in the National Football League next year if it's with somebody else. So from a confident perspective, he feels he's going to continue his career. But right here, he has a lot to prove on whether his career is going to be as a starter or is it going to be as a backup, potentially special teams player for the rest of his career.
We'll see what happens with Devin Bush. Certainly this week we'll be watching for him as well. I want to ask Charlie about the Lions and what he sees in Detroit with Hard Knocks and Dan Campbell and everything else. We'll do that coming up next. I want to tell you, though, about our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. Hey, create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. It's the best. You're gearing up for fall. It's hiring season. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. They got simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to, and they do it faster. Every week, nearly 40 million job seekers are on LinkedIn. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Charlie Batch is with us, our buddy from many, many years back. I was there the day you made your first NFL start in Minnesota when you nearly got decapitated. Charlie, that was, a lot of fun. What year was that? 98, 99?
98, yes.
98. That was a rough day for you, but you stayed upright most of the day. But the town was abuzz back then. Charlie had a great career, of course, with the Lions and the Steelers. All right, your former team, Detroit. I don't know how much of Hard Knocks you've watched, but we're like America's team here, Charlie. Everybody's rooting for the Lions with Dan Campbell. What do you think?
No, to be honest with you, in fairness, I did not watch Hard Knocks. So I didn't get that inside information only because I was doing other things. And by the time I got to that point, because of my media obligations here in Pittsburgh, by the time I did get some free time, I went to sleep. So that's essentially kind of what it was for me. So I did not get a chance to look at that. But honestly, where Detroit is at, I mean, there's a lot of buzz up there. Of course, Dan Campbell has a lot of people excited about what he brings to the table. I love the experience that he has on the coaching staff. And those are things that literally you hope that now that transitions into the players. And of course, when you're sitting there and everybody, behind the eight ball and people are, kind of underestimating you, you hope that you can get out on top and give these fans a reason to cheer and show up at Ford Field and give the opponents something to really, fear when they enter into Ford Field. So this is going to be something I'm paying attention to.
The roster has definitely improved. I know there's some that say, they're going to go from 3 wins to the playoffs. There's some that, as you know, being a former Detroit Lion, that the fans say, be careful whenever we get optimistic around here. But what do you think realistically in year 2 of a rebuild like this with this roster? What do you see as being realistic this year?
Well, I think just hearing the comments, I think they're expecting to be a playoff team. But when you ask the fans, I'm sure they probably have a different perspective of like, okay, what is success? Is that doubling your win total from a year ago? Or do you really feel like they can compete? And I think ultimately those questions will reveal itself. And of course, if you're starting out at 0-0, everybody has high expectations of what this season is going to look like. Do I expect them to compete and be in every game? Yeah, absolutely. And I think once they get around that Thanksgiving time, can they get over the hump and truly believe? And hopefully from an injury perspective, that doesn't come to bite them. But ultimately, if they can be in the hunt around Thanksgiving, I think they can make some noise.
Are you a Jared Goff fan? I know you watched him. You saw him last year when Detroit came to Pittsburgh. He got hurt. He kind of was playing with one arm tied behind his back in that game. But what do you think of him? And can he turn the corner and get back to being a Super Bowl type quarterback?
Yeah, I think he can. And I think ultimately, when you're playing with injuries, sometimes you're the only one that truly knows what's going on. But if he can get back in the form in the manner that he was with the Rams and they're capable of taking them to the Super Bowl, I think that's something that he may, be able to say, okay, this is what I'm looking to do. But of course, he's always going to be compared to Matt Stafford at this point because he switched up, won the Super Bowl. So that's kind of where expectations are. So I think in the manner that the move was made to bring him into Detroit, I think everybody's expecting him to really turn that corner as you now get to that point of what those expectations are. And if you have a Super Bowl winning quarterback, I think the playoff hopes that you can at least say maybe he's capable of delivering in that manner.
It's crazy to think that this is definitely a better Lions roster than it was a year ago, yet they went into Pittsburgh and tied in a bizarre kind of rainy, muddy type game. From remembering that last year and kind of looking like, should fans just go, hey, from 3 wins to 6 wins is the peak level? Because I know it's not easy to win in this league, is it? And you've been on some teams that have been bad and then got good. How difficult is it? And you were in Pittsburgh where they're expected to win. So what's kind of the mindset of an organization like this in Detroit with where they are in year 2?
Yeah, and a lot of that remains to be seen, but the Lions did make a commitment in Dan Campbell. They gave him a 6-year contract, which at that time was something unprecedented. So they believe what he's hopefully being able to deliver. So I think ultimately, really, when you talk about fan bases, are they now okay with 6 wins and thinking that it is a successful year, or can they turn that corner and be a playoff team and be competitive and make some noise when they get there? We don't know. It's just very hard, to figure out what people are thinking at inside that building. But from a player perspective, you want to be in the hunt. And anytime you go through a miserable season, man, you hopefully that adds fuel to the fire the following season, that you can now turn the page and then get everybody else excited. And from everything that I'm hearing right now from the leaders up there, it seems like that's the direction we're going.
No, it's been fun. Certainly this August. We'll see. It remains to be seen when the games matter, but should be fun on Sunday. Check out Charlie Batch doing Steelers TV, doing Steelers radio. Are you doing post game again this year during the season?
Yes. So I'll be on pre and post, pre-game TV, post-game pre-game TV, post-game radio.
And you can follow him on Twitter at CharlieBatch16. And if you're on LinkedIn and you are friends with him, his dog videos. How the dogs are just when the weather gets cold in Pittsburgh, the one thing that keeps people happy is Charlie Batch running around his neighborhood with his dogs. Are they still doing well? Are we doing more videos this winter, or are you retiring from that?
No, we'll still be doing it. And right now, I look forward to it because, of course, when COVID shut down, had to figure out something. And, of course, you couldn't go to gyms. I just had to figure out a way. And for me to keep that weight off was actually walking. And I started out with about a mile, and then I got up to 2 miles. And now me and my dogs, we actually do anywhere from 25 to 30 miles a week walking. So during the week, we walk around my development, and then on Saturdays or Sundays, I'll take them down to the park, switch up the element, so they can actually see, people, animals, everything of that nature, so everything's not a surprise for them. And people actually look forward to finding them in the park when we're walking around. So trust me, they love it.
All right, Charlie, appreciate it. Great to see you, brother.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
There he is, Charlie Batch with us, Steelers TV and radio, pre and post, former Lions and Steelers quarterback here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions.